All right, we are back. Spent like the entire weekend pretty much redoing a lot of the IK stuff, and very annoyingly not necessarily getting anywhere as productive as I'd want it to be. Yeah, I gotta figure out why none of the fire actions work anymore since redoing the IK. Oh, getting feedback from watching myself YouTube video. What's happening? Oh, my own previews. Alright, let's move Twitter chat out. What is this? Wait, I don't remember applying those modifiers for this. But I must have. Unless there's another. Yeah, let's listen to the ballet. I'm assuming this is just the gray box. Yep. But yeah, that's weird. I'm actually missing. I don't normally apply any of these modifiers. We can eat things. How's it going, Samurai Cafe? Yeah, it's for laser rifle. I'm just retouching it. How have you been? Doing all right. The usual you, school back in session. It is right now, but I might not be staying there for too long. I have a job interview on Friday. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope so. How are you doing, Mongolo? I wish I was just comfortable with Blender. You're just breezing through. I need more practice. Done with the jam now. Yeah, I don't even consider myself to be any good at this. I just don't have time to, you know what I mean? Like I just got to get things done. So I'm a lot more motivated to just, you know what I mean? Like throw crap out. Just not care too much about the details, you know? Yeah, Mongolo, I spent a lot of time today trying to get... I wanted to make the character be able to swap out its own model in runtime. And, I had so much trouble trying to get it working today that I've pretty much kind of given up on it, at least just for the small time, sake. And I'll, dive into it again later. The issue is like, right, for IK to work, right, for IK nodes to work effectively, the way they should, right, they need to be inside a skeleton 3D. There is no, so when you're setting up like the skeleton 3D, normally it's from an inherited scene that's obviously coming from the blend file, right? Because, I want to have multiple variations, right? I want to have the male, female, and I want them to, be easily kind of exchangeable, right? What I have in the crate, too specific. So what I was hoping I could set everything up where I could swap the model out, but the animation. So the issue that I'm having ultimately is I want an RPC that just despawns the model and spawns the model back in again. But in the model itself, is the scene tree path to those IK elements and things that are synchronized across the network, such as visibility of marker nodes that I'm using to spawn items into, right? So I'm not really hearing about the item. I just want the marker nodes visibility to be synchronized, because anything inside them will be toggled off and on. Oh, when you said model herd mesh, yeah, it's the whole model. Like I want to be able to lazily remove the model and swap them out. They're literally exactly the same, other than having like certain details. But I know like swapping mesh data is possible. But I'll need to. I'll explore it a bit more and I'll look into it. But right now I'm just not having a good time with it. The issue is that I can't find a way in the same frame to do the replacement. What happens is whenever I do add child, so add child true of the new model, it becomes character model 2 because I'm not freeing the original model. I can't find an effective way of removing and replacing the model in the same frame, where this path doesn't get altered or doesn't give me like a bunch of errors until things are kind of. I just want to just swap them out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it changes any topology, does it? Kind of. My thought process here. What was I doing with this? Nothing. Yeah, so up in there it sounds like a recipe for pain. But here's the thing, right? If okay, so for most players, I kind of know that like they're not gonna change. You know, like they're gonna set their character to be whatever you know, kind of model they want, and you know, and then that's fine. But it's loading them in, like, you know, when the player loads in based on their configuration, we need to know what their character selection model is. The way I approach it is that the player data is one thing, and then the avatars are another. So we can load up 10 avatars and assign them to players. Like, spawn them in. Do I need this to be a try? I don't think we care. Basically, with the avatar is its own thing. So that was the other option. Like, if I didn't care about the naming convention of the model, and that wasn't a concern, I could alternatively just have a multiplayer synchronizer on the model. You know what I mean? The model itself. So we have like the main player, you know, object, you know, which has the position rotation, you know, like the basics on it. And then all of the stuff on the model could have its own synchronizer. So when they get swapped out, they don't affect anything. You know what I mean? But I don't know how effective a child synchronizer would be, like on the model prefab, right? So then you have one player net, and then you have, you know, you can kind of swap out the model as you load them in. I don't know. I haven't, you know, and I can solve this by just having variations, like just setting up the male, the full male player, the full female player, separate, totally separate, and then you know, just you know, when I receive, you know, send player information, which gives me gender, I then spawn in the associated prefab. So the spawner has, you know, both added, like both options added to its list of things that it can spawn. Right. So that's kind of like, you know, you know, the easy way, I guess, to fix it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's, you know, effective either. The issue is when you spawn it in, like it's putting it in the same place, in the same hierarchy. The naming convention is weird. Like it doesn't let it be renamed as what it should be. Like in my case, they're forced to be called character model. But then when I go to add it, it's like I tell it to queue free, right? I even tried freeing it, but like I tell it to queue free, and I, you know, and then I set the model to be null, and then I add child, the new one. I instantiate the new one, I add it to the child, but it still becomes player model 2, right? It doesn't like, and so then I created a delay that on the next frame, I just renamed the damn thing to be a character model. But like it all just like I don't see to be, why are you insisting on the name to be the same? Because base, it's player character base, which is like the gimbal of the character itself. So there's the node system is player net base character model, and then in the character model, there's a bunch of IK targets, and I'm synchronizing the IK's interpolation values, and I'm also synchronizing the visibility of certain nodes, like target nodes inside the model. So in the main multiplayer synchronizer of player net, like the main player, I have a bunch of things that path down to, right? Character model / blah 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 blah. So when I swap out the model, right, the model's name would still need to be character model for the multiplayer synchronizer to not freak out. Sync up targets manually. A new one before swap. The issue is the new one it has a different name. Right, the issue is like I can't find a way to vote to despawn and then spawn in the new one. But that's like to let it have any name random. The multiplayer synchronizer won't work, right, until the names match. The synchronizer should be in place so that it gets spawned and removed at the same time. Well, that's the thing, is that's what doesn't work. Right, the synchronizer is further up in the player. Right, we have a player. Player has a multiplayer synchronizer. It synchronizes, for the most part, animation tree data and IK data, as well as the visibility. Guess where most of this shit is? On the player model. Right? Other than that, its own this rotation, position. That's what I mean about the idea of having a nested synchronizer. Right? Because obviously on the main rigid body itself, we're going to want to be synchronizing our So yeah, but that was my question, in which you said probably wouldn't work, is having a child synchronizer on the character model, which is a separate thing. Right? The character model already has everything, all the dependencies of the player. Right? And I've already set them up now where I've redone all the IK stuff today. So as the example here, we now have a male and a female. Now obviously they're the same here, but in the main project they'll be the different versions. They're pretty much almost exactly the same, but they have certain differences that I can now modify. But they're the same, everything about them is the same. So that was my next approach, is not worrying about the name of it and putting the multiplayer synchronizer here. Throwing all the values that need to be synchronized regarding the model itself, animation tree, vice versa. Because then it doesn't matter. Then I can do unique names that can spawn in. Once the player itself, has a reference to the model and that new reference is made, then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like once that character model reference exists on the main player, it can feed in everything that it needs. Right? I have kind of things even on the interface. I've been cleaning this up all day. So I'm exposing everything that all subcomponents need on the player interface. And then I used to have a bunch of stuff set up before where on the IK system, I would have all these export values. And then I decided, having to set all this shit up is convoluted every time. So all I literally do now is grab the iPlayer and just feed those private values. So, the model, the camera gimbal, things like that. And what's great is I can, after, the main player model, if the main player model were to ever get changed, I can just run setup IK again and it would map everything. So I've kind of just started just cleaning up things. So, is everything all the IK stuff does. So there's no more. Even the equipment, I cleaned up. I added all the slots as an editable child, so that I can, if I want to, set up the mount positions. Right, these are all like the mounts of where things go for the equipment slots, for things that like spawn into equipment slots. However, now I already literally just find the model, and if I have a player, I kind of grab the IK, set the model, and kind of automatically just set it all up. So I've kind of just automated everything, right? Like grab from the player or model, then the model has different mounts that I can kind of then pass to the equipment system, and that sets everything up. So everything now only has one kind of reference, like the model itself. So in the character model, let me find the mail. Right, you like when you go and set up, the character model from Blender, from the GLB, you're responsible for setting up the the different targets of where things go based on their bone attachments. I know I can move the bone attachments out and use external skeleton for them, but this is fine. I think this works great. So this character model's kind of, like exported properties. So these are like, this is the IK. Here's my equipment nodes. These are all the mounts. And I'm going to write a tool script for kind of setting these up, and also for being able to visualize it. Like I can drag in a weapon in the one-handed slot and turn on the IK and visualize it and make sure everything aligns. Hey, Wolf. I need to learn how to do this. You should totally learn how to do this. But that's the issue right now, is I'm getting a race condition on when the scene tree gets cleaned up from swapping out the model. You set up rigging for an equipment system. Yeah, well, give me I'll show you in multiplayer. Let me So I'm working on a Star Citizen clone. It's like Cowboy Bebop meets Star Citizen. Is the idea. This is the gray box test project before I kind of push things into final art. This is where I do most of the work. What do we want? When do we want it? In race conditions. So let me just give you an idea here. We're just going to host. This is what I've been trying to do, is get the. So we have like 100 NPCs here. They'll start pathfinding around. I mean, there's an advanced NPC with aggro. I'm going to move out of the way here, and I'll join with Rav. I'll just pick maybe a purple color. Okay, so and I'll show you the issue, right? So what I want it to do today is have all the equipment spawn in separately. So this gun, my multi-tool, is no longer on the player anymore. Nothing is on the player anymore, right? We now dynamically load in the item, set the IK based on the item's IK slots, and then work. But right, so we can now rebuild the equipment based on the literal equipment of things, right? Including the rifle, right? So this is kind of, because I want to be able to drop shit on the ground. My goal for today was have male and female characters working, be able to hold an item, hold a button, and drop it on the ground. So it'll show like an interactable version, like a hologram, like I do when I'm selecting things, and drop it, and then another player could go and pick it up. Right, so so this is kind of how the game plays out. We can run around. We have all the blend shapes. The colliders on the weapons are not disabling right now. Like when I spawn them in, the collision layers are still a bit weird. But this is how the game plays out. We have sneak, we have stealth. I have aggro on NPCs over here, so I can pull aggro on the advanced NPC, and we can spawn in ships. So here's my player ship. Let me just come over here, and I'll just observe it as the server. So put my weapon away, right? So you can see that I'm interacting with the seats. So let's go jump in the pilot seat. Right, now I'm in. All the weapon systems are fully synchronized. I can take off. Right, we have warp, and warp works in multiplayer. I can go over to this planet, I can go down, I can land, we can play the game together. Just... let me go and just spawn in my own ship here real quick. So the freaking out here is the gravity system that I'm working on that's not working. Where did my friend go? They are on the side facing the red planet. This is not a very big planet, so I should see them. Come on, where are you two? Oh, there they are. Where is the front of the ship? Yes, I'm just going to come down over here. Oh god. Let me land in style here. Alright, so all this works. Alright, so the goal is just that, oh god, and gravity is literally ripping me through the through the ship. How you planning on doing points of interest? They're based on landing location. I'm not going to put a lot of pressure into ProcGen. I think ProcGen is a bit of a waste of time. I think if we take more of a freelancer approach and make the you have a lot working though. Yeah, I do, but it's just like I need it to be cleaner. I'm getting there. Like I'm getting, like, you see, like this used to be really glitchy, the moving around and the IK. And now it's not. Now it's happening in process correctly. So that's all fixed. A lot of shit's being fixed, but I keep like having to backtrack as I'm trying to start implementing stuff. So like, you know, the planetary gravity is working. I didn't say anything. I put doors on there. Ship gravity is kind of a pain in the bum right now. But, you know. Yeah, so I want to do really cool landing locations, Wolf, to make the landing locations be like kind of the main focus of the game. Look at how cool, like Outlaws is not a bad game if you think about it. And Outlaws only has like what, like 4 or 5 planets, 3 planets, I think. Like some of them are just like one little landing location. Like you can fit a lot in a sandbox, but they need to be good, you know. They just had to be like kind of really detailed in lore, and they need to have like some economic meaning to them, you know. So that's the game, right? The game's made like you can shut down comrades, you're buying cargo, selling it, right? Making money. That's like the idea. And this is not what the game looks like. This is like what the game looks like in its test environment, the main game. I'll jump into here in just a little bit, because that's what I'm trying to fix. By the way, the synchronizer is supposed to be used, as I see it, is the sync values within the tree that it belongs to, like a child scene. For you, yeah, that's why I think it's so like I've not seen examples, Bungalow, of child synchronizers, but I think that's how they should be, because that's their job, like you were saying, right? Like it's because it's just path, because that would save so much issues, right? If they're only synchronizing down. And I don't think there would be a performance cost, because collectively they're just going to be yeah, it's going to be on all of them. It's going to be on the prefab itself. You know what I mean? I'm going to play. I'll play around with it anyway. We'll just see kind of what happens with it. It might be fine, because we got to think about it too. Like, I need equipment. I need to synchronize. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff inside that needs to be reconfigured. Like, the player needs to be reconfigured on each client as their data changes. Right? And if I could just put a synchronizer on the model and just swap out the model and everything just works because we're loading in the model, then that'd be great. Everything that you could change one synchronizer will have to be RPC to the others. Oh, yeah. But I'm hoping if the multiplayer spawner, because I'll be RPCing the. So I'm gonna guess you have lots of stuff in stations, maybe like abandoned stations, crash ships, settlements. Yeah, that's gonna be the the kind of the idea. Right now we don't have much. We're very early. I say early in the development. It's been like a year and a half, but like a lot of stuff is coming along. We got the male and the female pretty much now fully working after slaving over it for a while. And I'll show you some of the social stuff. So this is what the ship actually looks like. This is the main, right, like more final art version of it. So we have our our actual cockpit. Gotta have your beer, right? All the detail. Like this is what an actual shield generator looks like. So we're actually like generating faces, like hookups to each of the shield emitter faces. Everything's physicalized. You can pop it. You can remove all the components. So if you don't have a comm system, you don't hook up to the comm system. Yeah, so we have like if you come back, right? These are all the mag plates, so we can buy cargo, sell it, and of course, if I'll just hit play, I'll show you some of the. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff planned. I'm hoping to kind of get the Kickstarter. I want to get everything working first, like systemically, not like code-wise. And then I can focus more on art. But see, I finally got the mail in. So the mail is actually now fully rigged. Everything is now working. His IK is a little bit weird on his hand position right now because he needs to be adjusted, but I wanted to get him in the game and actually get both male and females in because I want to do a character creator sometime this week. Right, so we have our like panel where we have all of our like in-game and even this location's a little bit off because the character is obviously a little bit different than my placeholder characters, but the system works. And if we head over here, so like the game has very similar to like Gary's mod, all the props are physicalized, so you can kind of buy components, sell them. So like here as an example, if I buy a whole bunch of cool things here for my little apartment, there's just an example. I'll buy a few more bar stools. So like I can actually like buy components, bring them into my own little habitation module, and you can snap them in place. So you can like actually customize everything is the idea. Right? So if you want to, kind of decorate your own little world to entertain your buddies, you totally can. So the ship systems work exactly the same way. All the components on the ship kind of work just like this. Right, but just to give you an idea. Right, but this is more of the fidelity. This is the kind of graphically where I want the game to be, at least like myself, kind of how I see it. And it's, obviously we need our couch, because that's the big thing, Yeah, see, this is actually banging into everything, like my own colliders. By the way, I also set up several synchronizers on same objects, separate update rates. Okay, so we also set up several synchronizers on same objects. Only the critical. So it does work. So nested synchronizers aren't a problem. That's pretty much what you're saying. Or shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, only critical things should be. That's how it is in the animation tree. It's only changed values. It's the same thing with IK. Like IK does the interpolation on change because they're only really set to 1 or not 1, really. They're either on or off. I could blend them over time. Remember, as more people join on the network, we'll send more updates. Yeah, that's why like I just want to do these right, like I need I need to model shit desync because it's important to the animation system, but everything else could be RPCs. Right, the re-swapping of the equipment RPCs, right? Just, you know, telling it to load in and load out things, you know. Right, like it's like the gun. Like I don't need to know. Like I don't need anything on this. Right, when I go and drop it, I'll tell the server to spawn in this gun, and I will just disable this gun and despawn it. Like it doesn't, like when my equipment is presented to another player, if they haven't seen me, I just want it to like, oh, this is the player configuration, and just spawn in their items like via like RPC, because you know, like looking up their data and just, you know. So it only needs to happen only like. And the other, like what I want to do is go through the inventory, like their inventory items. I'll have IDs, GUIDs. So I want to hash the inventory list, and you know, have that hash be something that every client has inside their own game managers, you know, like clients, you know, like dictionary. And the idea being then is whenever you see a player and you're within range of a player, all you have to do is, you know, check their server side hash. Something happened then, right? Like when they went and they reconfigured themselves, they went and equipped a new piece of equipment, they changed out their hair color, they did anything that causes their equipment to synchronize, that hash will change. And only when the player sees another player or becomes within like a network LOD, that the hash is out of sync, not the same, then we just resync that player on that client. So we kind of like, you know, swap out, you know, the items that they should have. As right now, the way I have it set up is the IK system works regardless of what model, or it works with nothing in the hands. Like it already knows that there's a two-handed spot and a one-handed spot, and it already uses custom references like defaults. So without no items, I can still it looks like I'm not holding anything, but the IK system works. And I can swap out anything inside that marker node, and then it would just work because it's all, you know, the what I have set up for the IK for a one-handed weapon is going to be for all one-handed weapons. So I think it'll, you know, it'll scale. But yeah, like I hate that the stupid colliders are not being turned off. But anyway, my plan this weekend was to have the new character creator like finished. And it's not gonna happen because it is so cool that I can like do this. So this is kind of like what I was hoping to kind of work towards. So we actually have like the male and the female, and I can actually zoom in on the head, and I'll be able to swap out, you know, the different heads, and have some like metadata, you know, the blend shapes. I can connect to the blend shapes on the shader. I don't have anything selected, but I just have it all kind of ready to go. And when I'm changing out these skin colors, it's just changing out this one mesh color because I just needed something for it to work, right? But you can see the skin tone of that one mesh is changing as I don't have the shaders set up yet. If I go back to the male and pick the color, once again, I just kind of like mapped it to a suit, you know, material as a modifier. But ideally, I wanted to just make it so I could kind of like hook up those blend shapes. There's a bunch for the body, or like, you know, how thick they are, and the suit has the same blend shapes. I was really hoping to have the character selection screen in, so we could just, you know, revere, you know, pick my gender, have it all set up, and all these values will save to your profile. Change the head tone, hit submit, and then be done. So that was like my. You know, there was no intention of needing the character creator this weekend. I just started it, you know, Friday, and was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to get working. But that's what I realized. I realized I only had one player net. Right, like I had a configuration for players, so my client is like my client itself has a reference to the player scene. And what I do is I load in the client, and then I load in the player under the client. And the client's at world origin. It doesn't matter where the client is. The client could technically just be a node 2D. I just have them as a node 3D for the time being. And the reason why I separated it out to be this way is that way this client already has the correct authority. And when I'm spawning vehicles and spawning projectiles now, I can put them, you know, via RPC synchronization in the client's own space, right? And it also enables me to despawn the player and completely spawning a new version of it. And that was going to be my process of swapping between male and female originally. But then I realized I only really had one version of the player. And then for that one version of the player, I don't have, you know, like I realized like all of what the way that this was set up before, I fixed it since then, of course. But I had, you know, editable children enabled on the model, and I was setting everything up on the player, which means I couldn't really take this character, you know, like the character model itself had nothing on it, you know, like before. Now I've kind of fixed it all. Like I need to push all these changes live. This is how it was. It was very convoluted before. And I've since fixed it. But yeah, like I didn't have different kind of like sex variations that I could kind of swap out. And I didn't want to have to go in and change all this stuff for each one, but I've kind of already, you know, fixed it now where I could just, I literally could solve my own issue by saving, you know, opening up the player net, swapping out the model, relinking everything, saving it as, you know, player net male, you know, swapping it out manually, saving it as player net female, setting up a resource that has both, you know, like it'd be keyed to the gender enum. So the key value would be the enum, and then the value would be the pack scene, so that the both of them are preloaded anyway with the resource, and then instantiating either or by the client. You know what I mean? So the client itself would just hold the reference to that resource, which has the two pack scenes, and then it just flips in whichever one, you know, and it has them, you know, loaded in anyway. Then like the resource exists somewhere in memory for all other players to be using when they're kind of instantiating, you know, those into the world. But anyway, that's Unforgiven Space, Wolf. There's probably a lot more. There's way more I can show, really, but there's tons of trailers and things on Twitch and whatnot. But I really want to get this inventory system working. I need persistence of the inventory, but I need it to be able to be, I need to finalize what that looks like. Like, what does it look like to swap out items, to have an inventory, right? How is that inventory visualized over the network, right? Like, how do we swap these things out, right? Like, you know, there's only one thing in every inventory slot. So once I know how to spawn it in and toggle it effectively and be able to kind of despawn it and not have a million errors on the you know, we'll be golden. You know, we'll be fine. But right now it's just kind of annoying. Yeah, I don't know why I applied all these modifiers when I was working on this. I really kind of done myself dirty. I really kind of shouldn't have. Yeah, especially like this hole, like this is a terrible. I could reconnect them. Started using Unreal about 6 months ago when I began working for a studio for level design. Since then, I've been absorbed in stuff like a sponge. Oh, that's awesome, dude. So, are you using Blender a lot? What's your what tools are you using? Yeah, this sucks because what I might have to do. It's going to do these this way. I'll have you use a center pole so I get my quads. I've been using like in editor tools, the modeling tools. I've mostly been doing like grayouts for the studio. That's awesome. Yeah, that stuff's fun. I love like, you know, concepting things. Making it a reality becomes a little bit more difficult, but like everything. Yeah, we can clean this up. We can make this work. I gotta get into Blender more. I've been using tools like Hammer for the past few years, and all in-game editor to build my portfolio. And my contract's almost up, so I'm looking for like side projects. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good to just use, you know, use a bunch of stuff, right? Kind of just, you know, don't limit yourself. You know what I mean? Don't be like, oh, you know, this is the only engine, blah blah blah. Like, you know, Unity is better, Godot is better, Unreal is better. Just play around with all of them, you know. Let's slide this one up. Without his friend. One of the things I can note from Star Citizen, performance is insanely poor in cities and such. Yeah. There's a lot of weird things in Star Citizen when you really start looking deep into it. And I don't mean that like criticize against it or anything. I mean like you'll go up to a, you know, like an object, you know what I mean? And it'll be like 16 faces. Like a 16 face cylinder with smooth normals. Looks okay, you know, it's fine. And then you'll look at like some little lamppost base, and it'll be like 32 faces. Like, it's so all over the place, depending on, like, you know, how old the asset is and what the workflow was at the time. And, you know, these things could have been created, right, like 14 years ago versus it's like they're slowly improving. But they, you know, they have, you know, they have a little bit of bloat on things, you know. Yeah, I was very upset that I couldn't apply those modifiers. Not very non-destructive with me, but necessarily mod. It's a rifle, so it's fairly high quality. And I'll let the LODs fix the rest. Yeah, so we want one. Is that one not as deep as that one? Is that the deal? I don't think these offer anything. Okay, so I need this to come out on the top. We'll do, let's get these, yeah, this doesn't do anything. And it just does. So this needs to blend in with the rest. I only opened this file to like just fix the to take a render for the player inventory, and then I kind of changed my mind. I might have to remake this at some point. There's no casings. It looks very mechanical, but it's going to take a battery in the bottom. It's a laser repeater, so we have a thermal. We're gonna have like these kind of like thermal heat sinks that'll glow, and then that'll be kind of the determining factor of the weapon overheating. And then whatever I ultimately use for the battery pack, the batteries can be recharged inside the ship, so you can throw them in a slot, is the idea. And I got someone working with me this week. Hopefully that works out. They need a bit of side work, so I tasked them with working on a backpack for the player, so that'll be great. But that's one thing about this new job opportunity. If I get it, I'll have enough extra income, hopefully, to start doing more commissions. That'll be my goal, right? Because I'm gonna be a little bit, you know, the new job, if I get it, is gonna be a lot more complicated, I think. But those are still good. Yeah, I guess the cylinder that I used to dig out this. I'm gonna merge this one. Active element global, wasn't the whole thing slide as a scale on this thing? No? It's weird. Alright, we're starting to get our edge loops back. Shift tab will turn snapping, or even if mid-operation. Cool. Would you take donated content? Oh yeah, I totally would. Yeah, it all depends on what the person is capable of, you know. I need to get things finished, but yeah, the backpack should be done. There's a lot of like filler stuff that I need. Like I know specifically what I need, like from the, you know, like for this particular vertical slice. There's a lot of paneling and stuff like that. A lot of placeholder stuff. Like I don't want to work on the asteroid base yet, but a lot of this stuff on my own list here, like the battery pack needs to be done. I don't have a lot of my art on the backlog right now, but even gray boxing, to be honest, you know, like kind of working with a metric is still actually a really good, you know, if you need a portfolio piece, you know, I'm a very poor studio, but I do have an LLC, if you know what I mean. The sliding events will slide depending on the edge length. Oh, gotcha. That's why they were like weird on the top and bottom. Makes sense. Oop. Kind of linked those yet. How about you know, a gray box asteroid base? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Sounds up my alley. Most things that are based on Earth length. Most things are based on edge length, like subdivisions, splits in the middle, loop cuts, and so on. That's why nice even topology is so nice to work with. I play Space Engineers a lot, so my mind is always in creative mode. Yeah, jump on our Discord, Wolf. It's unforgivenspace.com/Discord is the main Discord. I'd be curious if you have a portfolio. If you don't have a portfolio, you should go and make a portfolio, whether it's on ArtStation or not. You know, you should have one anyway. Now, what was I doing here? Nothing. Oh, this is from the join. When we really didn't know what we were doing or how we were going to link it in. Yeah, I feel like this is going to get changed. Yeah, I'll clean this up. The invite in your description? In my stream or Twitch description? Actually, I think I'm gonna need to fix that. Let me go to my YouTube at Revere, I think. Let me mute this. Because I created a global invite, but I don't think this invite works. Is it this one? Okay. Can I edit this? Do I have to be in my panel? I am live. Cool. Yeah, so I'm just gonna put the Discord link as what it should be. Even though I'm not necessarily publicizing the Unforgiven Space website, because there isn't anything there right now. But I think that should re-forward you. Your Monolithic Studios. It does. Okay, good. And then I'll get you tagged. I'll get you the artist role. Did I ever buy those cannabis plants for the hospital? There is Wolf, and let's tag Wolf as an artist. So then one end. Yeah, so this was supposed to kind of come across and kind of carve the shape of the Oh my god, how many edges are here? Okay, so this, and then we'll just come up to about here. It's poor, but it will work. Check Discord. It's slightly outdated from my work with MBS Studios, but I got updated soon. Cool. Cool. Yeah, and I don't know if we were going to kind of blend that in. Well, I'm sure if I end up redoing this, but there was a lot of really dumb geometry in this thing, and it was never kind of put together quite right. I was only doing one edge. They're so weird. Oh, there's like a bunch of nonsense here. Ugh. So like this doesn't create any shape. This can connect with this. There's a lot of weird, there's kind of an indentation coming around. Still. Just gonna join this all back together. I don't really know how I want this. I mean, I don't really think with the bottom will be that quick. Oh, yeah, I think we'll clean it up later. Are you gonna do weapon customizations? Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's definitely something I do want to do. All right, I'm gonna call this improved. Not perfect. It doesn't have materials, but it's topology-wise way better than it was. Hoping to get some loop cuts in this space here. And try to get it actually connected in. Yeah, I think weapon customizations will be cool. And like all of this can probably go. Yeah, I wish I would have rotated these a little tiny bit before I cut them out. Do 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 do. Yay, we have edge loops again. You know, it's still a pretty high topology, but I might, you know, clean this up, make it a little more low poly later. It's like at one point there was a groove in the top here too. I don't know what happened to it. Anyway, I wanted a photo. Maybe this one. A render of it, if you will. Mungalo, if you're still here, do you know if you can render viewport real quick? Or like just render. I feel like that's a ChatGPT. Real quick one. Blender. Render. Current viewport with alpha background. Go to render properties, go to cycles or EV. Under the film, set the background to transparent. Okay. And then viewport, render this image. Okay, viewport, render image. Hey, that does it. It's fine. Oh, except for the stupid. What? Me. I mean, that's what I want. They could turn off all the thingamabobbers. Oh yeah, so without parent aligned and grid. Look for overlays in the top right corner. Uncheck overlays. Can I just turn them all off? Antics. That's okay. Relationship lines. Oh yeah, no, I totally can. Okay. This is Blender Antics. Yeah, I just turned them off. Oh, yeah, that works. Now, is that actually true alpha, though? Is it an alpha? We'll find out now. The US. Laser rifle. US weapons. Hello. Is it truly alpha? Hey, Big Boy Games coming in with the raid. Oh my god, Big Boy, I literally raided you yesterday as you were raiding me. Because I raided you, and then after the raid was done, you weren't there. I was like, oh, I guess I don't know what he was doing. And then I looked at my notifications afterwards, and you had just raided me. And I was like, ah. Yeah, I saw that. We raided at the exact same time. Hello, Revere, arriving. Thanks for the follow, Oprah Gamer. We're working on weapons and stuff today. I'm having a terrible day getting what I need to have done, but we're getting there. I don't think the alpha is in. Why am I defaulting to GIMP again? Use default program. Just the Windows picture viewer. What? Choose from another app? What do you mean? What am I? That's my image associations. What? Photos. Did I like uninstall my photo viewer or something? No, is that truly alpha? It's not truly alpha. GIMP, you lied to me. Let's do white. Man, I wish I could model stuff that looks this nice. Oh, thanks. I wish I could model stuff that looks this nice half the time too. We're all in error. Yeah, no, it's totally not. And I bet you if I delete it, it's gonna hate me forever. You know what? No. Blender. Do the thing. Yeah, so we're here. We're in render. Oh, transparent got removed. Oh, fine. Do it again. View. Render current. Viewport. There we go. So let me give you guys. You know, I should actually show you guys what I'm doing. So this is not the main project. This is Unforgiven Systems. Okay, I'm going to go to sleep now. It's 4 a.m. Had to watch Big Boy Games. Couldn't sleep. Good night. Have a good one. So I'm trying to get the male and female character in the game. Is what I'm trying to do. And in the process of trying to get them set up and, you know, differences between them, running into some weird issues with the hierarchy of things. So just to give you guys just the kind of the idea of the game, it's first-person space game. This is a test project. This is not the final project. So let's do Revere, and we'll just pick a color. We'll just do like cyan or something. Yeah, so here I am. You can see, you know, I am the server. Here is Revere. Everything in my game is synchronized, so we have all the, you know, multi-tool, pistol, rifle, you know, the little stupid little doodad that we use in my game as a, you know, kind of a Moby glass. Oh, nice. I had no idea you're working on multiplayer. Oh, yeah, it's been multiplayer from day one. Right, so I can, you know, run around, I can do my thing, we can sneak, we got sneak in now, so we can kind of crouch around and be sneaky. See, the animations are all good. Because, you know, we need to be able to do smuggling, you know what I mean? You can't do smuggling in a space game if you can't smuggle. So, anyway, I had to redo all this IK stuff. And you know, what I wanted to achieve today is to have all the items, or what I have achieved today is the items are no longer on the player by default. So how it used to be is I just put the items on you know, the player, and I just hid them. You know what I mean? Which is fine, it works. But you know, what if I want to drop this particular gun on the ground right here in front of this player, and then have this player go pick it up? You know, he crouches down, he grabs the gun, and you know, we can kind of pass things along. We also don't want the player, obviously, to have weapons unless it's in their inventory, right? And here's my very, you know, shit-tacular inventory visualization. So we needed to physicalize all the items and make sure that, you know, the items are something that we can have despawned, you know, and kind of, you know, get things working. And anyway, and the reason why that's more complicated with the male and female rig is because on our player itself, right, we have the model on as a child, right? So here we have our base, here is the character model. The character model itself has all of the IK nodes, which are attached to bone attachments, and it has our animation player, right? So if we look at our like animation tree here, you know, we have all of the animations, right? Die, revive, and the tree is all set up, and right, we can go from idle into crouch, and then we can control crouch, so like forward, left, right. All of my right, like blend shapes are all kind of set up, and we can go from crouch into movement. So we can be running and crouching. So if I run and then go into movement at the same speed, right, it all blends in nicely. I was watching other streamers set up animation tree stuff. It seems like a really nice way to handle all the animations. Oh yeah, all you should be doing is feeding in properties of the animation tree. Because for example, check this out, I can't jump in place unless I go through the tree, right? So if I run into movement to revive, I must go through death. Death must finish, and then must go back into a revive. It's the same thing as if I was already in a death animation, which requires me to die, and I went to go a sitting. See what I mean? Like, all I told it was a sit, and now we have to go through the revive, go back to the idle, and blend from the idle into the sitting. And from a sit to a jump, look at how flawless that is, right? So, because there's still movement on this animation, right? And it just blends, right? So we can kind of go from this to a jump, through idle, to crouching, back to dying, to be revived. A lot of people don't know how to use the animation tree. Yeah, you unload all the state management into. I've seen people sit there in the Godot Discord and manually write all this crazy animation logic. And what we have here in the connections between them on the switch, we advance on the condition. And these condition values, those are the booleans, right? Of whatever you want it to be. And it could be immediate. You can sync on the end if you're blending between, two types of movements. Like in this case, we have two blend space 2Ds. We're syncing and we're advancing on crouch being set. And on the return, we're advancing, in this case, on crouch, because you can create custom expressions, but just set two properties. And then all you have to do to drive this whole thing in your player, if I go to my animate function, right? Animate. All I'm doing, feeding the values into the animation tree. That's it. Just literally on process, feeding in. Are we crouched or are we not crouched? You're like, what is the on crouch value? Is it true or false? Because it's going to automatically do everything on the change of the value. So just feed in the values, continuously. When they change, it'll do whatever. And like here, I'm just kind of interpolating my movement input because I want to have that. I don't want to just WASD and have things be a little bit crazy. Like I want to have it look nice when I'm kind of moving around. So I'm kind of just interpolating the movement. So when I'm playing with WASD, I'm not just going full speed in each direction, right? Because that'd be very it wouldn't look that good unless you're playing with a controller. So like that's the whole complexity of animations. And then it gets even crazier for multiplayer, because for multiplayer, when we're thinking about, well, how do we synchronize all this shit? Well, on the synchronizer, you just sync the values, and you only sync them on change, unless you're synchronizing the blend position itself, because obviously you want those to be really, really good. Looks like you have a little bit more of a glow than you did a year ago. Have you been getting fed well? I don't know about that. Right? So like that's all you have to do, right? And then all of this over multiplayer, right? The whole animation blend positions and values will be synchronized on change for anything that's a Boolean, and only always, and then you have it, Now it's more complicated because if you're doing your IK stuff, you got to kind of synchronize a lot of the IK influences and all this kind of stuff. Caught your stream and my recommendations. Jumped in to see you talk to animations. Are you working on movement? Hey, Rage. So I was just showing off, like setting stuff up. If you're just joining, I'll show you kind of like what I have working here in multiplayer or what I'm doing. So I'm working on a Star Citizen style game, space game, or a space FPS for multiplayer, and I'm getting it so we can do the male and female different character bodies hooked up. So here in this test environment, we just have 100 NPCs. We have our server joining in as our player, so you can see all the animations are all nicely synchronized, including like all the crouch. You can see like crouch is all good. Take out my weapon, and you can, if I just kind of come back a bit here, right? So all the IK works for the different weapons, right? Including even the data pad that we use for like our missions and all that stuff. It's really cool that you've been doing it in Godot. That's crazy impressive. Well, all of this is now actually kind of working and playable. Like you can pop on and join me in this, but I can go over here. I can spawn my ship in. If I come over here and take a look at the ship, you can see if I jump in, everything on the ship is synchronized. You can see the seats are being interacted. You can see the seat animations. You can see me jumping in, turning on all the weapon systems. All the weapon systems are synchronized, so you can see the gimbals are all tracking. I can take off. I can head over to that planet. I can turn on the quantum drive. And I can just go over there and land, and like we can, it's like the I can't say it's the perfect little sandbox, but it's a sandbox. you know, where I can create gameplay. Because all I care about Rage is the creation of gameplay, creating, you know, gameplay systems that are kind of similar to SCs, but with a more of a focus on oh god, we're upside down. That's fine. There's a lot of the colliders on the roof are not set up. That's why I can kind of clip in through, right, the walls. So in this test project, only what is needed exists. Very nice synchronization. Synchronization is huge. Seeing what you've showed and how simple it was pretty crazy. Yeah, thanks. It's not like, you know, there's still a lot of work to do, you know, for a lot of things, but I mean, it's like everything takes time. I want to get Unforgiven Space to a fully playable state. You know, so you can see me, there I am, kind of just chilling out here. I just came over with my friend, so we're on a, you know, full planetoid. I can run around the whole planet. It's all like real cylindrical, you know, gravity volumes. Right? We don't care that the planets are like super big. I will have they'll be big enough that you can traverse around them, you know, because from a gameplay perspective, you can't have players being able to fly around and find you, you know, too quickly. You know, even like 15-20 minutes of like, you know, kind of looking for someone if you were looking for someone. But the landing locations are going to be, you know, the main selling point, like creating really good freelancer style. You know, think of this more like Cowboy Bebop. Like if Freelancer was an FPS in like a Cowboy Bebop, yeah, large enough to barely see the curve is exactly in this example. We're 500 meters, which is like a half a kilometer, which is not very big, but big enough to showcase, you know, certain things. But yeah, so this is the game. There's more to it than this, but what I'm trying to get working, I guess I will actually, I'll bring it up. Yeah, so this is what the game actually looks like when it loads. A year and a half in Unity, and then I switched to Godot after Unity went and did Unity things, and have not been back since. So, but here in the empty test scene, I can kind of show you. So this is what the ship actually looks like, the one that you're looking at. So like all the weapon systems. So it's meant to be like, you know, a lot more realistic. So, you know, I want to see, like, the idea is everything in the ship can be like ripped off. You know what I mean? Like you can take out all the components, you can switch things out, you can put the ship into the hangar and just use your tractor beam, pull things off, you know, and you know, and it all works, right? We have our, you know, you can just, you know, replace the shield generator, right? I don't have a lot of the components loaded in under the hood right now, because we're not there yet. But like, you know, just think of, you know, and you can see like I've got a lot of like little test stations. Like there's over 40 rooms here, all instances, every single one of them, all with their own global illumination. There's no lighting here. This is all GI, screen space global illumination, right? Just to kind of show what we can do, and we can, you know, this can just scale out until, you know, it becomes a dot. Right? Yeah, you know, space is big, so we can fill space in with lots of details, and we can use LODs correctly. I'm working on a massive asteroid system, which would be really cool for mining, for the mining gameplay. But just socially, let me just kind of show you. So I'll show you the truck stop after, but I'll just give this a go. I gotta go grab dinner, but I really like what you got going so far. I think it's shaping up to be a really fun game. Definitely type of genre I love to play. Best of luck. Thanks again for the raid, Big Boy Games. Right, so here we are in the more realistic version of the game. Here's all those animations. Here's our crouch. Right, we can sneak a line, be a criminal. Here's all the IK stuff in action. Obviously the hands a little bit kind of off, right? Because I had to readjust a lot of the IK stuff. But let me just show you socially some of the things. So this is like one of the perks of being a Patreon right now, or one of the perks I'm working on, is you get your own little habitation module, at the main truck stop, and you can customize it. And this is a system that's integrated into the ship. So all I've done is take the ship code and applied it to a room, which is no different than a ship. Think about it. Think of it like a ship, spawned and attached to a port on a station. And if I buy one of everything here, buy like 2 bar stools, the island light, and 2 couches, it will literally just all spawn in here. So if I take the bar light, right, so it's all physics based. So here's my little bar light, and we can kind of actually just, snap it all in place and, kind of slowly customize things, right? We can go and, grab our little bar, and all these are like purchasable items that you can kind of grab. So just kind of from like a Sims type game, I'm not saying this is like Sims type game, but just being able to kind of like use the same systems I'm using for the ship customization to kind of like customize your own little environment. And I'm not allowing, like, if the player just leaves something lying around, it'll get saved to the inventory. They can spawn it, but we're using like an item port system to make it stable. So once you socket something in place, then it works well in multiplayer, because we can, whenever a player goes to, enter in, they can kind of, based on the item port configuration, we only have to replicate that and then load in everything. All right, so if you want to do like a couch here, maybe 2 couches or a double couch. All right, so there's some prospects here. It's funny, my weapon trigger is like hitting things. But this is graphically more of what I want the game to kind of be. But now I have to get everything to this level, you know what I mean? Alright, so like all the components can be, removed and swapped out and bought. And hey, Scarred, how's it going? I don't know if you noticed, but let me take a look down. You notice anything? Notice something that wasn't here last week? I got the male and female in. And I had to redo all of the IK system. Right, so this is kind of what I'm working on. I wanted to get both of them in. I had a lot of issues with the male character, getting them imported from Blender, because there's so many issues with the system. So yeah, that's what the hurdle's been this week, because I wanted to do this. This is kind of what I'm aiming towards. I was hoping as a surprise update to be able to push this live. This is my this will be the new character customizer, and we've got to change the sex, male or female, and then like depending on what option you have selected, I'll turn off the suit and turn off. Yeah, exactly. And so now if I change the skin tone, I have a whole list of skin tones that are now working. Right now it's only changing this one little color here, because it's just for testing purposes, right? But we'll be able to set the different blend shaders for the body, properties. But I'm hovering over the head. It'll zoom in, so it'll kind of go from body, just by focus. So I'm putting your name, so we obviously it's Scarred Citizen, and kind of like bring this process in, so we can kind of like kind of onboard the kind of like the permanent configuration of the player, right? What they look like, what do they look like, what gender are they, but like which head type, what skin tone, like kind of so people are different in the game. But not only that, then we can apply that to the NPCs, so then all the NPCs are also unique, right? So we can kind of randomize them, and yeah. So in doing that, this week I ran into a bunch of hurdles that required me to refactor a lot of stuff. because we need it to make it so that the characters can swap out themselves. They can unload their model and switch their model out. But in doing so, all of the IK systems are kind of in the model. The IK targets are based on the model. A lot of things are based upon the model itself. So it not so easy peasy, you know, to kind of just make that switch. So what I've done now is I redid all, because it started off with like, oh, I just need to add the model. Well, that's not really true. I need to actually, you know, for the first time. So now I'm the actual male model. I've just created 2 pink and blue characters so that they work. But now when I spawn in, all of these equipment items, so the gun, the multi-tool, and the pistol, the gray box versions anyway, obviously, you know, just more final versions, these actually load in dynamically now into their correct inventory slots, right? Because what I want to get to a point where we have the inventory, you know, actually working, and I want to be able to drop this gun on the ground and have someone else pick it up. Curious, how in-depth are you going to go in role-playing if you plan on having it? Pretty high. I would love to create a sandbox that is fun enough, you know, in what we can do, that the immersion of it allows for content like GTA roleplay, right? Where there's enough little things and enough, you know, there's enough just content, but also, you know, variations of things to do within like the reputation system, to just be able to kind of like, I'm going to use the reputation system as the ladder, right? So the reputation system is, I'm new. I just spawned into this star system. I don't know anything about this star system. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, me, a jump gate. So by default, you know about the jump gate stations because they're always known to you. Like you had to get there somehow. So if you wake up in a station as a player, like you know the jump gate station, that's pretty much it. And if you did more base building similar to like Outpost and Starfield, it'd be fantastic. I have some early prototype player bases. Antix was actually working on a system for that. Player bases would be a great addition to fill in the monotony of proc gen, because like Starfield has really showed me that proc gen can be done bad, and Outlaws has showed me that you don't need a lot of locations for the game to be good. Like there's enough to do in a limited amount of locations, as long as those locations have depth to them, you know, like they're cool, right? So we don't need, you know, hundreds of planets, and we don't need a ton of procedural generation. I think the procedural generation, as I develop it, will be more focused on just filling out content around landing locations, and setting the player expectation that there's nothing out there, you know what I mean? Other than procedurals like mining ores and things that you would be looking for, right? Like structures that would have some type of purpose of being random, right? Shanty towns and random things like that. If you can ace procedural generated layouts and details in your golden, I believe so too. Yeah, I think I have a good idea. I was playing around. Let me show you the version 2 of the asteroid system. So let me show you the original asteroid system first, because I ended up losing it. I don't even know why. Like I have no repo of it. I don't have anything. Like I must have been prototyping it at work or something, on my old work laptop. But I did builds of it, and then I don't know. It just disappeared from the face of the earth. And I back up everything. Like there's backups on my server, backups for other projects, like every week, and you know, other than the repos themselves, you know, there should be something that, you know, shows it. But nope. Gadoo. Builds. So this is the asteroid system. So check this out. This is a full volumetric field. I'm running at 1600 FPS right now, and there's 1,000 asteroids. We're going to increase this. Now, this might be running a bit slow on the stream because my encoder hates me. But let me just increase it to 4,000, 8,000, 16,000, 32,000, 64, 128, 256,000. Now we're in like, this is stupidly way too thick. We wouldn't be able to fly it anyway range. But we'll keep going. We'll keep entertaining the idea of what multi-mesh instances can do in Godot, right? As an idea. So now we're at 1 million, and we're still at 400 FPS. So 400 FPS with 1 million asteroids. So let's just go to 4 million because we can. So now we're at 4 million at 165 FPS, right? With volumetrics, mind you. So this is like volumetric lighting, right? If I look back at it, obviously, we're not. How is the random position and orientation? So it's going to be seeded random is my idea, but I want to show it off before we go into the asteroid project. That was the test of throughput. So what I want to do is have each system have like a seeded random, and we kind of generate them, the field with that algorithm, that noise algorithm of whatever the seed is for the station or for the field, and then we have these combinations, right? The idea is we have wrong build. We have the server generated real asteroids. I call them real asteroids, or the ones you actually scan, you break apart. The multi-mesh asteroids are more of a background, right? They're the false positives, right? They're the different variations that are layered that are kind of like making the field kind of like hard to deal with. So this is my little test here. So where I have a fake what I'm going to call like a ring. So eventually there'll be these huge kind of like rings. When you're inside the rings, you have this volumetric lighting. When you're outside the rings, you'll eventually just see like the visuals, a shader of what the ring looks like a literal ring around an asteroid field. But just to kind of show you like what we can do with this is a chunk system that I've been working on, where every single one of these areas around us have 250 asteroids. There are 250,000 this time, but my FPS is actually much more stable. And then as I'm moving around, don't ignore the scan. That was a scanning thing. Every time I hit spacebar, it's supposed to do this like depth buffer, like scan ping of everything, but it's not doing it right now, or it is, but it's doing it wrong. But I think like creating like a really fun mining system where you have to kind of go through and kind of scan and spend a bit of time like looking for certain rocks, and and making it kind of thick so that it can be used to kind of mess with sensors and and this has no real performance penalty, the system, and I can kind of scale. I can slowly kind of bring them into existence because I want to make these kind of like dynamic fields that kind of like have certain dynamic thicknesses as we get more into the core. And then the server will be scattering. Like these will all be client side if you think about it, because the seed of the field will be synced to all clients, but a client can predict, and know, where all the asteroids are, and the positions, that are valid as far as which ones can be mineable, would still be that same position on the client. So you can't really use the data to determine like, oh no, that's definitely the real, asteroid that I can mine. But it helps, build things. In terms of ProcGen, they plan on having it randomly made. No, it's all custom universe, like Cowboy Bebop. I want to have every place be lore, like bound by lore, right? The space aspect of it, the realism of space, not as important to me as like building, as good world building. I think good world building is like more important. And that's an opinion, that because obviously like we don't know what happened to Earth, and we don't really know we can't really kind of like there's a parallel you know, to Unforgiven Space. The idea is it's very late 70s, early 80s aesthetically. So it's very like old school retro futurism. It's kind of like the aesthetic of the game that I want to ultimately like aim towards. So a lot of dials and switches and CRTs and you know what I mean. But the concept is as if the space race from like the 40s and whatnot kept on going, but were fueled by corporate manpower. Like they were fueled by corporations, pretty much. And then once we, as humanity, went to space, it was the corporations themselves that were funding everything. That actually owned all the resources. So once the corporations pretty much went to space, then governments didn't really matter because fuck you, we're in space. And then the corporations themselves started to expand and take advantage of all the resources. So in the game, it's very cyberpunk-ish or like Cowboy Bebop-ish in the sense that your ship that you have originally is just kind of a corporate-owned. Like it's not yours. You're kind of paying it off. It's company provided from one of the factions. And so back to asteroids, are the individual square outlines? Each one of these are a chunk, and we're dynamically spawning in multiple chunks as we're moving through our little field. So as we get so far away, they can be despawned. So each one of these is pretty much like a Minecraft chunk, only for distributing the asteroid fields themselves. It's chunked that way so I can determine a density based on a chunk, and I can obviously increase them. They're 100 meters now, but I can be like, okay, well, we're going to do like 250 by 250, and within a 250 by 250 volume, we're going to assume that there's so many of those asteroids that'll be like gold or vice versa, depending on how I ultimately structure it. In reality, I just need to give it to players and like they fly around and like, oh, this is cool, or that's not cool. I'd rather have more space and maybe more clusters of asteroids, or it's kind of there's a lot of stuff that's really curved by players, right? I don't really I don't always know what I'm doing. I know the idea, like I know economically what I want to do with mining, and I know kind of like how I want to implement it. But what I've been doing myself is we have our wonderful little Patreon, which some of us here are a part of, and right, so that we're at like 122 right now. And what I do is I just continuously do builds. I just push builds continuously. They're not game builds. They are development builds. They're not meant to gatekeep the game or be in early access. They're not early access. It's not any of that. It's a true development build that we play together, and then we get I'll get all the feedback from the community, and then that just goes forward, right? And I'm hoping. If I look at projects as an example of Road to Vostok right now, is literally full time, $3,500 a month, and they're single player game. So I think as I keep doing builds and keep delivering and keep adding features like vehicles, the funding will grow and things will kind of hopefully take off a bit more, and I can put more time into it. The biggest thing that I want to start working on is outsourcing a lot of art, and but yes, that's kind of like that's my process. Is just keep pushing builds, getting people playing it, and providing feedback, and then if I can keep testing and testing and testing, the great thing is I get a good indicator if something's fun or not directly from the community, and people don't like something, then I can kind of change it. As long as the expectation, the things you're testing may not end up ever being in the game. So it could be like control to increase the depth of the field. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, that's the idea. And Skyr says, I've been looking through my old Battletech source books. They have a lot of that 80s sci-fi feel. Like, yeah, I love that whole genre, like Akira, and a lot of the like 80s anime, like Robotech, and just the world building of in a lot of the Robotech games or early Star Wars in general, Right, so that's like the idea. And Rage, if you're interested, jump in our Discord. But it is 11:30. I think I'm going to get ready and raid someone here in just a bit, and we'll try to fix this. I love the Aliens ship. Yeah, one of my favorite artists, one of the Star Citizen artists, concept artists. was the one who designed the Reclaimer. What's his name? George Hull. George Hull is like so good. George Hull has probably done most of your favorite spaceships, and you've probably never realized it. Nostromo is really freaking awesome. But George Hull did the Reclaimer and the Orion, which is really funny because people are always complaining about, you know, how the ship doesn't really fit into the universe or whatever. But like this was made by George way back before there was any you know, real ship, you know, truly concept. Well, yeah, that would explain why the Reclaimer reminds me a lot of my favorite. Yeah, because it's all George, and yeah, his artwork's awesome. Like, even in Blade Runner, I didn't realize he did the shuttles, the vehicles in Blade Runner, and I love them. They look like some Japanese made, like 1985, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can almost see a virtual age with them. The design's so good. Right, all of his artwork, because he even did a lot of the buildings and landscapes. Like look, this one's so good. But yeah, George Hull is like literally one of my favorite concept artists. Like, just like, it's amazing. Such inspiration. What else did he do? There was another one, Jupiter Ascending. Jupiter Ascending. I don't think I've actually watched Jupiter Ascending. But Elysium, the ship designs for Elysium were good too. What, and I don't know what he did in Last Jedi. But the Matrix Reloaded. Yeah. Love concept artists. Well, yeah, join Discord. I'll definitely keep following development of your project. Yeah, it's awesome. The YouTube is slowly growing, you know. I'm definitely excited to kind of start delivering. We're very, very close, you know, to just being able to, you know, like have like the whole like vertical slice together. In like in many ways, I'm way further than I was in Unity, but there were a few things visually in Unity that, like, you know, that were much better. But yeah, let's get ready, and I'll end it here on the social media and on Twitch. I'm gonna go raid someone. Thank you guys again. If you guys are interested in supporting the project, check out the Patreon. The $5 gives you access to the builds, and $10 gives you access to our little Patreon station that I'm kind of working on. Godot can't boost visuals, unfortunately. Can't what? Can't boast? Yeah, a lot of, man, Godot gets a lot of rep for not being that graphically intensive, but it's really the artist, you know, like people, I don't know, I feel like Godot in like 3 years from now, when people that are now making games with Godot finish them, you know, when studios start really using it, you know, it's going to be in such a better place. Just right now, it's kind of, I see Godot. If you design a good art style, your game will look fantastic. Yeah. But anyway, ladies and gents, we'll see you guys tomorrow.